Welcome to Bay Area Innovators. I'm your host, Steve Espas. Our innovator today is Hussein Al-Omari. Hussein grew up in Gadara, Jordan, an ancient city and former Roman village.
I can see 4 countries from my home. I used to joke about that I don't have to travel. I can see Lebanon, I can see Syria, which is occupied, Golan Heights. I can see all North Palestine from Jerusalem. So we live in a war zone on the corner.
He's part of a family of 15 with 13 siblings, which had a big influence in shaping his family values.
Family values, for me, that was most important. At one time, I dropped my job and position. I see absence of family values in the minds of so many of my friends who are in the high tech, who don't care a bit about even having a family.
We will talk about his journey to Stanford and the Silicon Valley, where he ended up filing 52 patents and was involved with several Fortune 500 companies, including LSI Logic Corporation as a startup in 1981.
I don't want to go after money, just work and ignore my social life and friends and family. I got to work closely with 4 professors because of the hard work. All those 4 professors, they lost their wives, they got divorced, and they all got their families separated. And it was really a trade-off between family and between innovation and industry. Technology is way ahead of social life, even of ethics, of legislation. You have engineers who don't know sociology or psychology. They're designing or they're basically deciding for the world how to live socially.
He also worked for Canon, Facebook, and other companies. But he also took a different path than other tech entrepreneurs in the Valley, which we will ask him about. Hussein, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for hosting me.
Yeah. Well, glad to have you here. So you grew up in the city of Gadara, Jordan, which is a biblical city. It's on the border of several countries, and it's a former Roman city, right? Roman village.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how you grew up, your life there, and what the city is about.
Well, the town is called Umqais in the modern name. The old name, we call it in Arabic Jadara. It's mentioned in the New Testament in 3 of the Gospels called Gadranis, Garanesis, and Gadara. That where the name came from, the Jadara, from the New Testament. It's a story where Jesus came to the east of the river and healed the lady from the evil spirit that ran into Lake Galilee. So in my town, I can see 4 countries from my home. I used to joke about that I don't have to travel. I can see Lebanon, I can see Syria, which is occupied, Golan Heights. I can see all North Palestine from Jerusalem to Lake Galilee, Tabariya called.
From your town?
Yes, and I can see Jordan as well, you know. And so we live in a war zone on the corner, you know, and they have the Jordan River and the Yarmouk River cross there. So I spent my childhood actually dreaming of walking to the lake and swim, which is just half an hour walking, but I couldn't because it's occupied, you know. Yeah, so, and then it was basically, we had a primitive town at that time, even no electricity at that time, but I still managed to be score in the top 10 in the country in high school, which was my way out to go study engineering, and so a family of 13 people.
You had 13 siblings.
I have 5 sisters, and we were 7 brothers, so we're total 13. Yeah,
so what is it like to?
It was, probably when I used to speak at school and tell them we're 13, oh, you have like 15 spoons, 15 plates, 15. They don't know that you're different ages. Some of my nephews and nieces are my age, you know. So we never all sat together because, you know, we're different generations. And so I used to joke that my mom was 1 year pregnant, 1 year nursing, basically, you know. But it's fun, actually. It's socially, it's really, I don't believe in having that many now because life is really, you should care about quality. If you have children, you should have time for them as well as should have spending on them and care. And at that time was easy because the mutual responsibility by the neighborhood, everybody help each other. The brothers and sisters take care of the younger ones. But now it's so expensive to even have 1 or 2 or 3. I have 3. We have what we call it the social warmth, which is different in Arabic called. So you feel the bond with people around, and you feel socially that you know everybody in town. You know, you walk in the town, everybody knows you. You know everybody. Different from when you walk, you don't even know your immediate neighbor. You know.
how would you say having such a large family shaped your family values? How do you feel about the family?
Actually, it teaches a lot because so much. It's not the parenting was not only my parents' duty; it was my big brothers and sisters. Especially if you have an older sister in the house, and all, you learn ethics and how to speak properly and not use foul language and so on. And so you grow up in the house, you learn ethics, you learn the principle from the older ones, and they all have responsibilities and toward each other, you know, and cooperative. In your homework, if you're stuck, somebody will help you, and so on. So it really felt, I miss that. I still compensate for it. I make like 2-3 trips every year. Going back to Jordan just to be with my brother and sisters. We remember the times, and my cousins, my high school friends or elementary school friends, you know. And we kind of lived both, like my kids or not. We went back after Stanford. We went and lived there for 14 years. So they learned the language, they learned the religion, they learned the social aspects, and we came back. So they got the benefit of borrowing from both cultures. I call them hybrid, you know. Yeah, because I'm a hybrid myself. My mom is Syrian, and I'm Jordanian. Yeah. My and their mom is American, Californian. You know, she speaks Arabic fluent. So everything is hybrid, basically, in the family, bilingual, bicultural, and it helps a lot actually when you know languages and cultures and you travel. There's so much you learn that you couldn't learn in school or at home alone, you know.
So you moved from the Middle East, from Jordan, to the U.S., and you came to the Silicon Valley and Stanford. And tell us about your journey. Like, what did you experience here, and how did you get?
Well, if you grow up in a town of 2,000-3,000 people, and your family have 13 kids, dream on and going to anywhere to study. So I had to really work hard to get top scores. So I got top scores to study my bachelor and got distinction with honor degree. I went to Cairo because my scholarship was to American University in Beirut. But then there were clashes, so we moved to Cairo, and because there was no electrical engineering in Jordan, so I studied there. I went back. Then I was appointed a TA. Then I got another scholarship from Stanford, which is a school I would never dream of going to be accepted or to be able to pay the fees, you know. And I scored, I think, the GRE, the highest in math in the world at that time. I got a letter showing I was the highest in math. So they accepted me, and I went to Stanford. I got my master's and PhD, which really was a lot for somebody coming from a village where we made our own toys always. We didn't buy toys, you know. So it's made a huge difference for me. I learned so much. I didn't go back right away. I worked in the industry. When I was a student, I worked for LSI Logic at that time. It was a small company, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah, you worked for LSI Logic. Yeah,
yeah I definitely want to ask you. So LSI Logic has a special place in my heart because not only, I think like you, it was the first company I worked for after graduating. I was there for 10 years. But LSI is really such an incubator. You know, there's people there who became the leaders of many companies, right? It's like a place where people grow. So what was your experience like being there as a startup?
I was a naive person about industry and startups. So I was a Stanford student, but we needed money because the scholarship was not enough. I was helping my younger brothers and sisters back home. So I got this call to go help them with timing analysis, which was my PhD. And I went there, I did well. I used to go twice a week in Milpitas. Everything was farms at that time, all the farms, you know, no 237 and all that stuff. And with Wilf Corrigan, for me, he came from, I think, Camera Instrument and all that, and he invested. I was number 15, but I didn't get much equity. I didn't even negotiate much because I didn't know. I was happy to get the salary I got at that time. So I used to call myself rich student and poor employee. I got a brand new car, a Toyota Corona at that time, and so it was really nice to watch a company grow. I stayed with them 5-6 years till I finished my PhD, and I built the first timing analyzer in the valley, basically at that time. But there was no guidance to guide me to be something, to start something. I tried to combine social life and business life and professional life. Like for me, I don't want to go after money, just work and ignore my social life and friends and family. So I kept the balance. That's what when I was at LSI Logic. I always, what Corrigan asked me, when do you want to cut a link with Stanford and just dedicate yourself? I told him that's the way I am. I do work because I enjoy it, you know. But I lived a good life. My kids lived like millionaires. We didn't have millions, but we lived a good life.
Well, so again, LSI Logic, I know Moshe Gavrilov, he became the CEO of AMD. Brian Hala, CEO of National Semiconductor. There's a few. And then Jensen Huang,
he was
right?
with me. He was an engineer.
He was with you, working as an engineer, as everyone else, right? And
he was funny because Jim Clark at Stanford was my professor. He used to swim with him. He used to tell me, he was divorced at that time because of the engine he built. I worked with him for a few months, and then he had that engine, Silicon Graphics, which was really way ahead of his time, which is computer graphics. I love computer vision graphics. Then it ended up not doing well. Then Jensen bought it with funding and all that. I think it was $10 million only. Jim Clark made him Netscape, Mark Andreessen made 800 million out of it, but Jensen made NVIDIA. So the engine grew to become the heart of AI and everything now, with the graphics needed for that. So I've seen all these opportunities and people I worked with that, you know.
Did the Jensen Huang stand out in any way? Was he just like a regular engineer?
No, he was always a quiet, calm person, low profile at that time. Now he speaks, I see him, I get amazed, but at that time not much, you know. We had the whole building actually, LSI and Pizza 3 building. One building was mainly people who came from China. He was in that building, and I had good friends with them. We used to go there, and so he wasn't much into bragging and so on. He's a humble person, you know. But after he got this company, he really grew it and patiently, and to make it one of the biggest players in the world. And especially the last year or two have been tremendously important for his company, because without it you can't do all the AI that you can do instantly, cannot be done without those fast chips, you know, that he built. Each one costs like $1 billion in the project, you know, or 100 million to buy it, but $1 billion to build it, you know, to design it and test it, you know.
And then you moved on to other companies. You were with
Canon.
I moved
to Canon. I worked for Canon. Canon opened my eyes to the computer vision and image processing. So I built OCR, optical character recognition. At that time, it was not something known yet. What I got my first patent, I think 8 patents. First time I have patents in the U.S. issued in my name was at Canon. You know, so they got me into that game. And I never went back to hardware and design, and at LSI I did hardware, you know. So that opened my career to image processing. I'm still doing image processing projects and computer vision and all this object recognition of AI, imaging, image manipulation, fake, what do you call it, deep fake and all this stuff. Image analysis, I can detect fake images and things. And I can do recognition of text and images. Then I did Arabic OCR, repeated it at CAX, which is King Abdul Aziz City for Science and Technology in Riyadh. So I built what I built for Canon, I built in Arabic for them, yeah. So I got both worlds. Then I got into Japanese companies building for them 2D barcode. We didn't have like public domain 2D barcodes, QR code, or data matrix. So I built data matrix and VS Code for Veritech at that time. So I built many 2D barcodes, how to read them, how to write them, how to generate them. I'm still like in love with and I adore what do you call it, the image processing, computer vision. It's like, because I used to call it the eyes of the computer. Now it is the eyes of the computer. With the latest OpenAI 4.0, you can talk to it, you can throw images, you can describe with voice. Now it really has the senses of the human being. So it's no longer just image processing. Before we used it to separate text from images, cut text and recognize the letters. Once you recognize it, then you can write it clear English in a file, then you can use a translator to convert it to Japanese. So I can send a message in English and they will receive it in Japanese. Now you can actually hear it with technologies available in OpenAI, or Meta has one that converts like 100 languages between them. So actually, that my field was really good, but the age, if I was still young now, I would do so many things because that's what the trick, the whole thing, all holding AI together is computer vision, basically. All of it is understanding images. They look around you, they'll tell you, oh, nice haircut, or you got, I need a haircut. But they'll tell you, oh, nice jacket, whatever. Or maybe this doesn't match this. They'll offer you even.
So that's why NVIDIA is so crucial in the AI space because of the
So now it's more
processing.
fun. Like I tell my kids, you guys should get into this area. They're all computer science from UC Santa Cruz, masters and all. But I tell them we should get into this because this is so much fun. The computer sees you, talks to you. It's all actually algorithm. I know what's going on behind. I understand how they do it. It's all understanding the segmentation, semantic segmentation. They break in the image into pictures and people and objects and use libraries and so on. Then they can compare with this generative AI, with the transformers. And they're fast. Like you ask a question 2 pages, you think a human being would take 10 minutes to understand the question. This will immediately start answering you,
Now, let me ask you about this. Life in the Silicon Valley, especially for tech entrepreneurs, is pretty stressful. They work maybe 7 days a week, especially with startups. They're there all the time, and they become, some make it, some don't make it. You took a somewhat different approach where you balance life more with work. Well, tell us about that. How important was that?
Because I felt sad. I went to Stanford. I got to work closely with 4 professors without names, and all of them, because of the hard work, that was the revolution of the VLSI. You know how AI now? Everybody would put VLSI in their resume, in their work. And those guys used to sleep on campus. I used to have keys for 5 different buildings so I can go at night, but I work from home. LSI gave me a computer from. But all those 4 professors, they lost their wives, they got divorced, and they all got families separated.
They work all the time.
No, because they work all the time, and it was and it was really a trade-off between family and between innovation and industry. So I felt sad for what I see. I invited some of them to my house, and we ate together and all that. Then next time you see they're not, and they see so. I didn't want to do that. I actually, the funny thing that they all still have the same secretaries who work with the executive secretary working with them, but the wife could not hang around because there was too much, to pressure. I'm not here criticizing, but this is the reality of the valley, actually. There was not much social life or family life. You have engineers who don't know sociology or psychology. They're designing or they're deciding for the world how to live socially. You understand? So these guys, their kids, they come and they know so much algorithm and technology, but they are the one who designed the algorithm, and they tell you how to live your life and your lifestyle. And that's pretty sad. I believe all the social studies and all the psychology people should learn AI so they can come and contribute, not leave it for us engineers. I'm a different engineer. I'm a poet. I write poetry, and I'm a linguist also, but many of my friends don't know anything about that. So for family values, for me, that was most important. At one time, I dropped my job and positions when I got married and had my kids. So they started growing up. We went to Jordan for 14 years. We used to come every summer. So the kids are bilingual. Then we came back when they wanted to go to college. So I lost. So I had to start all over, and they came back. You get it? So instead
so
of
you went back for 14
I
years?
went back. I have a house there.
To reconnect.
You reconnect and yes, and raise the kids safely. Like my kids were going to good schools, no alcohol, no drugs, no sexuality, and all this stuff. And so they focus on studying, and they become top. Now they came back. We used to come every summer, so they don't get cultural shocks. We used to spend the whole summer here, school. So they're immune to both cultures and to the negative in both cultures. I'm not saying one culture is better. Each one has the good and bad. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come back. So I came back and put them in University of California, and they really got good degrees and good jobs. And but they still have the touch. They play their computer games with their cousins back home. And I go like 3 times a year or whatever. And so the idea of seclusion or to be lonely, to be like, I'm extrovert, very extrovert, but still in the valley you're an introvert, not by choice. You're an introvert, you're by yourself in the cubic, in a box, and you work, you talk. So I don't want that. I'm open. I talk to neighbors. They don't know you, but they send them food when I make food or I make sweets, and try to open up. People are scared at the beginning, but then they start, to welcome and appreciate and send us something back or thing. So I like that kind of life where I know the neighborhood around me. I know it's safe. I can come late or leave late. I can leave my family and travel and so on. So this was really the attention. The Silicon Valley relationship were really, even for, not because I'm a Muslim and Arab, even for American families here. I talk to families. I used to go at Stanford every holiday to hospitality family will host me through Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. I used to run around Foothill 3-mile race at midnight and instead of drinking. So I learned from them. They're sad too to see social life being really challenged by technology, and where people no longer have the essence of family. There's not something called family room or family lounge, which is shrinking, become like 2 chairs. It used to be huge. So I felt that is really what we miss, that people, like I used to joke with my friends at work, they're so close and thing. I told them, look, my life starts after I leave work. They said, I go home, I'm lonely. I don't have people to talk to. And individualism, this is something we're not used to. Individualism, where you focus on yourself. Your relationship with others is only dating. I don't want my relationship with others to be only with just dating the opposite sex. I want family life. So we try to make up for that by establishing communities, community centers, schools that teach both language and the curriculum, Islamic centers and so on. Other cultures they have without even religion. The Indians have Chinatown, Little Tokyo and so on. So it's important to have these pockets of culture to make up for the missing social warmth, where you are cared for by a community and you exchange with them. Yeah.
Well, you make a very good point about the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley is very unique, right? Because indeed you have mostly engineers who create these innovations, these inventions that lead the world in so many ways.
And they don't know sociology or psychology.
Exactly, they're all engineers.
And they came from broken families, some of them, many of them. I'm not like here criticizing, but if you come, you don't know. If you suffered, they have traumas, they have suffering as kids. And they come now and they dictate how I should live my life and all that by community values and all these things that, like I grew up in different. I'm in school, I apply and I fill application. I look at my son's application to University of California. It's different. Even to put his gender, he had 9 choices.
Yeah.
So,
if you were to do something different, if you were to start over, what would you do different in your career or in your approach to life?
I don't regret really how I lived my life. Like I could have had chances because I was smart. Like I told you, I had the highest GRE in the world in math, and I had a distinction with another degree of my life. I could have made like something like Johnson. I could have made hundreds of millions and all that, but it wouldn't. I looked at my friends who did that. Really, they're not happier. No, they lost wives or kids or things. So I would have done differently. I was, first of all, not to be naive. Nobody advised me. When I negotiated with Al-Omari, for example, Wilf Corrigan and Mitch Bond at that time, the VP, they brought me and said, we have to give you some stocks, you're part-time. So they offered me like $7,500 here at that time, not much, I could have negotiated a lot more. And he told me you have to pay for them $350. I told him, let me think about it till Monday. I'm a villager, I have to think about it. I thought they were fooling me, scamming me. Then he told me, you never had stocks in your life. I told him, true. Then later I knew what that meant, because that could have been a turning point for me to make something. Then I do things I like to do. So I would have make something quick. I don't want to be like a billionaire, but make something where you can retire that chase and start doing the things you like to do and the life you like to do at younger age instead of starting it. I wanted my kids to realize that early, but for me, I could have done that when I was 35 or 30, and then do what I like to do, regardless of the social pressure, Silicon Valley pressure. If you're not here really high-income person, you can't even live in this area. Teachers cannot live in this area. So that's what I would have done differently, focus on that time. I played so much sports. I'm an athletic person because I follow my religion. So the only way to consume my energy was through sports, all kinds of sports, swimming, volleyball, soccer, hiking. And as a kid, I got married late, so I could have done something better at that time. The other thing I wouldn't have stayed in electrical engineering. I would have gone computer science from the beginning because all my life is computer science. But I know EE, electrical engineering. All my degrees are EE, 3 of them. What else I would have done different? Maybe get married earlier. My kids can be established when I'm young. I'm still athletic, look young, but I don't advise people to have kids at 40. You know. So these are the things I would have done different. I used to dream of having 1 foot here, 1 foot in Jordan. I have a house there, a car, furnished, so to have both lives, you know.
Let's talk more about the social aspect of the Silicon Valley versus the Middle East, or I think even Europe. There's a difference, right? There's a difference here. People are more kind of separated. And
I have friends from Japan, close friends, and friends from China and from Taiwan, from different parts, Vietnam, and from Romania. I mean, German. I have many German friends. We always talk about that. They're not as the U.S. They still have heritage and culture that is hundreds of years or thousands back. If the whole country is 200 years old and they're a collection of immigrants, then it's hard to boil into heritage and culture. Then you hear it's really the best in the world in terms of technology, but that's all you get. A nice, beautiful. I mean, I wouldn't exchange living in California for the world because a beautiful area, the ocean 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away, and I can play anywhere, walk anywhere. But the idea is there is heritage, there is unwritten laws that govern people's lives about social interaction. Now you see these signs in California, neighborhood watch.
Yes.
And there was a joke about a cartoon. It says, it's a whole town, a village, the Wizard of Ed, and it says speed is controlled by, is monitored by radars and helicopters. So he's asking his uncle, can our city really afford such technology to monitor speed? He said, no, but we can afford such signs. So these signs, neighborhood watch, they're signs, but they're not really.
They're not really.
No. No, because they could do anything. People could die sometimes and nobody would know about them. But in my town, I used to fear my neighbor. I can't do mischievous things in the streets, bad things. If I throw a stone that people have, nobody, because anybody had the right to reprimand me at that time, not only my parents. So we feared all my father's friends or my mom's friends. You get it? So we have the social, sometimes you get nosy because people really get too nosy into your personal life. That's like something people complain about. I don't want people to know all the details of my life and investigating and asking all that. It's good to be unknown, but you miss that. So it's good to also when you're sick, people call and asking about you, bringing you food. So, and taking care of you and all that, you don't fear being lonely or alone. So this is where you really have to balance. That I study algorithms and I teach algorithms, and always the divide and conquer and the balance between like this and that. This is what we need, what we're missing in this crazy world now. With the marriage institution is dying, and it's it's a challenge for marriage now. And there is whatever called all these online dating things, and people no longer need to have bonds to raise kids together. And raising kids is not like pets. It's a challenge. One, manageable. Two, you're even. Three, you need help. Because you're outnumbered. So you have to have time. If you can't have time for it, you shouldn't have kids. I believe you shouldn't even get married. If you're not going to have enough time for a kid to of course. Don't say, oh, I have work, I have things. I leave everything when my kid wants something. That's how I lived. I could leave anything. And if my wife or my kids, they want something, even my friend, I drop that and give this really priority, because that's life. We actually, in our culture, the older culture, this 8 till 5 thing was not known. People wake up, we have a prayer before dawn, before sunrise, at dawn. So you pray, you don't go back to sleep. You go do your work in the farm or wherever, market, you come by noon, you're home. That's it. The rest of the afternoon, you can have a little nap, and then you can visit people or social, or you go to the mosque or the center. And so it's not all a workaholic life, you know. It's not like you're married to your career. So that's how it used to be. But even the Middle Eastern and Arab countries, Muslim countries, they borrowed the system 8 to 5 and 5 days a week and 6 days a week. And it's hectic, and people in the winter, they go home at night, like at 6 o'clock or 7. It's night time and scary even, you know. So how can you, when do you have time to live your life, to go enjoy even the money you make? You may have money, but you don't know what to do with it. So this is what I was a rebellious person. I tell my kids, forgive me, but I really lived the social. Said, no, don't regret a bit of it. We loved the way you did it, and you took us, we learned, we came back. And they're borrowing my style too, you know. And the same thing with my wife. She loved that. That's kind of what brought us together. But we both, like, we don't want to be married to money or to career or to companies. Companies don't like that. I worked for a company, even in Al-Omari at that time, they didn't hire single married people. Believe me, now they're gone, they can't sue me. But they would hire mostly single people. Even Ed Johns and Jim Crawford, if you remember those people, they were all singles. All of them, Mitch Bond, all these people. Because you can stay longer and you work longer at that time. And then the invention came of having your laundry and your restaurants, all that. So you sleep over, you know. It was Jim Clark who invented that time to have sleep over, so you don't have to go home, you know. And I worked for friends, I don't want to name them, startup, helping them. I would be meeting with them after work till 9, 10, 11, and his wife would call every half an hour, and he'll tell her, I'll be home soon. I'll be home in half an hour. And it would 5 times. If he would call, I'll be home in half an hour. These things, I'm what do you call them? I'm a perfectionist in my life, but also I'm like in my personality, ENTJ, I'm an analyst. I analyze people, I watch people. All this doesn't pass by my head just easily. It all clicks and all gets there. So I watch and I see, well, I wouldn't want to even be married if that's the way it is. And I imagine myself in her situation. Then it's like, wow, this is, if somebody telling you I'll be home in half an hour, then doesn't show up an hour, 4 hours, 5 hours, you know, because, and every day. We used to meet twice a week. I was helping him in a startup company. And then I saw plenty of stuff I don't want. Even if you give me millions, I don't want that. I'd rather have a clean life. I'm not alcoholic, no drugs, no smoking, because of religion, also lifestyle, but also I enjoy life. I do clean things. My Brazilian friend at Stanford, you don't drink, how can you celebrate? Look, celebration doesn't mean violation. I can enjoy life and celebrate and really be happy, and I can drive home safely. I'm sober. You can't drive home, you know. So what I trying to tell you that we really have to balance. We have to catch up. Technology is way ahead of social life, even of ethics, of legislation. You can't even have enough laws to punish people who are doing hacking, who are doing fake videos, who are doing deep fake and fake audio and all this stuff, pornography forced on children, and what do you call it, enforced sex and all that on children. It's all on the net. You can't fight that because legislation are way behind, because laws are so like freedom and so on. There's limit for freedom. So technology is way ahead, and we're suffering because we're trying to catch up. And the people who are putting the social teachings and social community, like Mark Zuckerberg called them community, so they are not actually qualified to put laws and put social bonds, put social rules and for society and for the kids. You need to top up for those sociology and what do you call it, psychology people who have, this is science. It's just like AI. Sociology is science. I read some, I'm not expert, but I know enough. I read psychology. I'm not expert, but I know enough to appreciate what they know, to appreciate that they're more qualified than me in setting up the system. Not every product that makes you a buck should be produced. You should ban products if they cause harm to humanity.
Exactly.
You understand? I get really like emotional into this because I see the damage. Yes. I see the damage. I know how to protect my phone, my computer. I protect my kids and family. I taught them. But I have friends who would call like they're hacked. They're because they don't know. So
So yeah, I think these values are really commendable, and I see your passion
to
and
enjoy,
how important
yes,
it
because
is.
I get annoyed, I get like maybe a loud voice and speak fast because I feel there is so much responsibility on those people to bring other people, get them involved. You shouldn't hire me just because I have AI or I have engineering. You should hire more of sociology people, psychology people who are known to be good, like an expert, and make AI easier to use. Like the new OpenAI actually 4.0 with the new addition, it's much easier to use. I can teach somebody in one day to use it than before when it was command line and programming.
Speaking of balancing technology with social life and all this, AI again is so big right now. You're an expert on AI. There's so much praise on AI. However, we have to look at the other side as well, right? There's, if AI gets into the hands of criminals, that's dangerous, right? How do you think we can balance this whole speed that the AI is moving?
Well, the evildoers or the criminals, they're faster into adopting AI than governments, government regulations and laws and legislation. Until now, they're struggling in Europe to put laws, and US is behind even in that in Europe, to put laws to ban spreading pornography picture of people without their permission or copying, the revoice, copy their voice or copy their, from like 2-3 seconds, they can copy your voice, make you see anything they want without even you're there. They can take a few pictures of you, they can make a whole video of you, or invent a new actor. They don't need you. I'm talking about people who work in Hollywood. They're losing it because they can copy them. So what I see, AI it's a nice thing. It's an excellent thing. You have the whole world at your fingers of information. It's not really intelligence. It's the whole world in your information, and you have access to it fast, and it understands you. But the abuse is so far, always the abuse comes before people are smart enough to protect themselves. So now so many casualties, so many fake people get to commit suicide because there's some video was published about them which is not real, and we know cases where people distributed videos of somebody which was not real. It was deep fake, and you cannot tell it with a naked eye. You have to use AI to challenge AI. So I believe the chase should not be money alone, should not be competing all the day how much NVIDIA is worth and Apple is worth and Facebook and Meta and Microsoft, but should also, and they now try to force them to have community, responsible by building apartments, building housing to make it affordable for the society. But that's not what you need. I don't need a house only. I need you to protect me socially. I need a border around my ethics, not around my house, to protect me from these evil doers. Like Google was told to have to build Apple and to build in Cupertino, Google Mountain View, and so on, and they made like really nice town to provide housing for cheap. But I need more. I need you to do a lot more than that to protect the layman, to protect a lot of people who don't study technology, not to be easy praise for WhatsApp hacking and for Facebook hacking and so on, and all their private life is exposed, and then ransom, malware, you pay money or we don't get your files back and so on. So I believe there's so much responsibility. These companies, they have trillions of money. There are many companies now past the trillion, Apple and NVIDIA, and so they need to put part of that money, slash it and put that to protect. And also laws. Yeah, you have to punish, put punishments on people who really commit and violate. Not just say in the name of freedom, just make it loose, because evil, the AI is very capable. If it's in the hands of the expert evil people who can really go from their homes in some country, they can hack the world. You have to protect these people, you know. It shouldn't be left for my personal conscience, you know, unconsciousness and follow up. Like I teach at Mission College and De Anza computer science, and every quarter or two I have to attend a 2-hour session about protection from spam and scam and email wanted and so on. So, but I built more from my experience. That should be done in every company, in every house, and on television. It should not be the focus on just how how high the stock value is. It should not be so. But I should see more startups. I want to see more startups started by women. Like I don't see many startups started by women here, and because they're more into protecting the family. You know, in the history of humans, it used to be the woman who really protect the house and the children. And the guy would go and hunt, and she would choose even who the husband is. And all that. That was way thousands of years ago. We need to go back there. They are more actually into protecting the values, the women, than the men. So we should see more startups of them doing things that protect the family, that in a way they shouldn't have been just dedicated to protecting the family, but at least they'll be more conscious. Back to the few thousand years ago, Stone Age, you know, when they're, and she, you know, the birds, you know, the birds, some of the birds, the female would build a house and go look for a mate, a husband who can raise these children. The woman used to do that. And so now it's after the Industrial Revolution, they lost that. You know, it's all the men who decide everything. I'm not like a feminist, but I'm saying reality that I see absence of family values in the minds of so many of my friends who are in the high tech, who don't care a bit about even having a family or having kids. So every week or two I can date somebody else. You know, I can go, so I can go on this application or this application. Yeah, so this is what we need. We need more companies, more startups, and then more also laws, more legislation to protect people and to care more about society. We're not just a bunch of robots living, and you can do whatever you want, you can eat or drink whatever you want and practice whatever you want. It's my freedom. And don't force on me things really that don't make sense, you know, because you have money, you know, and you have the media and so on. The media has a big role they can play, but I believe in politically correct. I'm trying to be politically correct, but sometimes we push things too far. We fight even ethics and family values in the name of being politically correct. Sometimes you take 1 in a million, 1% or 1 in a million and you sacrifice the benefit of the whole society for the benefit of Allah. Like in our laws and our religion, like the benefit of the majority overrules the benefit of the individual, you know. So because this benefits, like if there's a road has to go through your house, they'll give you a different house, they'll knock it down, and that's because that's for the convenience of the society. That's what we need in the valley. I'm not critical. I live here. I'm American and I'm Jordanian, and I raised my kid here and I brought him back. I trust to raise him here better than raising him maybe in Jordan. But come on, we have to really be open. We have to work on that. I've seen enough in my trip of the last 40 years in the valley that where we really missed. I've been like this, by the way, conscious about these things all my life, but nobody would listen. I would always say, you have to do this. Oh, who cares? You know, you don't. It's individual because they care about how much money, how much I can go, and have fun. You know, and fun. Believe me, I could talk to some of my friends. They all need therapy. They all take medicine to be able to sleep. You don't believe how many people out there they need therapy or they're taking antidepressant. I don't want to tell you 70% or 60%, but I know people who shouldn't be doing it because I thought they were happy. They have a lot nice houses and villas and swimming pool and jacuzzi and sauna in the house and big yards and things like that. And I had the impression they were happy. But then he tell me how many medication he take just to be able to sleep. Wow. Then I feel I put my head, I'm like a rock. I sleep right away, you know. And 4 hours, 5 hours, enough for me. I wake up. But when I see people struggling with medication just to cope with life, to avoid suicide, to avoid killing partners, to avoid being abusive to their children. I'm not talking about US, everywhere, even my country. This is where we are now. We are chasing things. We don't know what happiness is. We're chasing things on the expense of other things. Yes. I know people who say, we don't want to get married. I don't blame them. I actually respect them because I know they know what they want and why they don't want to. And if they hear me, they know who they are. And because I've seen the opposite, that where you bring somebody to life, you're accountable for that person, you know. Yeah. I used to joke, and I used to be invited to all high schools around here and churches and to speak on Middle East and Islam, like every year, all the surrounding schools. And I used to joke that you need a license to have a cat. My wife has 2 cats. You need a license to have a dog, but you don't need a license to have a kid. That's sad. You understand? Yes. Anybody can have a kid with no license. But you can't have a cat from the shelter without signing. We have like paper this much just to get the cats for my wife. We have 2 wonderful cats, but we have to fill so much paper and visit to doctors and things. But nobody asks you for that, to have a kid. You understand the difference? I like animal and pro-animal, but humans come first.
Hussein, thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
any concluding thoughts? Any advice to young people who are starting their careers in the Silicon Valley?
First of all, I wish for peace in the world. We have so much aggression around the world. I hope that will end. We'll use all AI and technology to stop it. Middle East, anywhere. Wars are affecting the AI and all this stuff because the politicians get involved, and all that, and they ruin things. But for the young generation, do what you like to do, but also be realistic. Make sure it feeds you, because be independent financially, whether men or women. You should be able to become independent financially and become secure, whether inheritance or whether a startup company, whether a good job. You should learn. With AI, everybody should learn. You don't have to switch majors. You should learn how to use AI to improve your field and to become and to excel in your field. You're not going to lose your job if you do that. So everybody should learn how to use, like if you are into fashions, for example, you should learn how to use AI, which is really fast and amazing at that, how to use it to make my selection of fashions all that easier and matching and all that, if you are into the drawing and things like that. So what my advice to them, you should pick up before it's too late, and pick up and learn how to do things, and don't chase money. You should make enough money to live a decent life, but also care for values and care for promises you give to people in marriage or relationship. They're not robots, computer. You change computer every year. You shouldn't change your partner every year. That's what I believe. Stability is so important if you want to have kids. If you can't provide that stability, don't. Please don't, because kids will suffer traumas, eventually get translated into a lot of psychological disorders and mental disorders, and to therapy and medication. So I wish kids will do things with guidance. You should always consult with adults you see them as stable people. Stable, not rich. Rich alone doesn't do it. Yeah. People joke, there are a lot of things more important than money in this life. Like what? Like more money. But that's not the case. You should have enough to be content. Contention, believe me, it's in the heart. Nobody can buy you to be content, to be pleased, to have serenity in your life, to be like at peace. I sleep, I'm at peace because I didn't transgress against anybody. I didn't curse anybody. I help people. So I sleep comfortably. I didn't let down my kids or my wife. So you should live that life and balance with your job. That's what I would advise the new generation. And it's difficult, But if everybody's crazy doesn't give you a license to be crazy, you should wade your way through this jungle.
Hussein, thank you so much for your time and your insight.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for watching another episode of the Bay Area Innovators. If you have a suggestion for a guest that you would like to see on our show, we would love to hear from you. Please send us a message at sfbay@epochtimes.com. Thank you and see you next time.